Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. The remake, the remaster, whatever you want to call it. Let's get to it. One of my favorite game series of all time. Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear series. Metal Gear Solid.
Where do you draw the line with a remake? How do you balance creative freedom and remaining true to the original? Everyone's answer is somewhat different, but for Konami, staying faithful was the top priority with Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, the remake of the 2004 stealth action game that was led by Hideo Kojima. And not being shy about crediting Kojima and his team throughout,
as they fucking
Konami
should.
Snake Eater in a way that's nearly one-to-one, other than a massive visual overhaul. So while it has definitely aged in the 21 years since, there's a certain novelty to its old school stealth action gameplay and spy thriller story that still hits. Especially with the way Snake Eater wraps up, how can you not be romantic about Metal Gear Solid all over again?
Sensational. It's crazy because this is how we thought it looked back in the day on the PS2. We thought it was lit. We thought it was groundbreaking.
Will be familiar to you. It's the same captivating story, delivered with the same mix of melodrama and absurdity to the backdrop of its Cold War era historical fiction. Its penchant for long cutscenes steeped in political theater is intact, alongside the over-the-top characters and cinematic stylings with a tinge of classic espionage drama. You can put it side by side with the original and they'll sync up just fine. The iconic gravelly voice of David Hayter as Snake lands with a warming familiarity.
Leave it to me.
Only he can get away with always asking questions that are just him repeating the last thing that was said over the codec.
Thunderbolt. Never
Metal
heard of them.
Gear.
Item boxes are in the same spots, and they'll still pop out of guards when you hold them up at gunpoint or drop their bodies. Despite the upgrade in tech that makes everything look current gen, the layout of each area is untouched. They remain broken up into their distinct sections, separated by brief loading screens. That's all to say, Delta is Snake Eater as you remember it.
Shut your ass up,
Going in, I
CQC.
was unsure about
Shut
the
your ass
Unreal
up.
Engine 5 makeover, and having completed a 12-hour playthrough and a full stealth non-lethal run, I'm still a little conflicted at times. Does that sheen atop the new photorealistic graphics take the edge off of the original stylings? Not entirely, but there are moments when its campiness doesn't land as confidently in high fidelity. There's something uncanny about Ocelot howling to call for backup, or the Cobra's inexplicable superpowers, which don't have quite the same whimsy when punched up. However, you couldn't cut these things and still call this Snake Eater. The trade-off is generally worth it because the jungles and mountain ranges look fantastic and give a density to these contained zones that wasn't as felt before. And in its prestige level cutscenes, the revamped graphics really pay off. It's one of those rose-tinted glasses situations where this is how I remember it looking when I was blown away by the PS2 version as a teenager playing it for the first time. But now, it actually does look this good.
I am the sorrow. Like you, I too am filled with sadness.
Konami put in considerable effort to maintain Snake Eater's classic touches by offering the legacy-style camera angle that uses the old bird
Hell nah.
along with the
I
original.
don't care what none of y'all said. That camera was ass. I need that modern third-person view, bruh.
control
Hell
scheme.
no.
As much as I appreciate the nostalgia, though, the new style is the optimal way to play. The
Right.
over-the-shoulder angle gives a modern perspective that doesn't detract from the way it was meant to be played.
Right.
Which we already knew because of the other re-releases that had to come out with this camera angle, including the 2012 3DS version. I also prefer it because you get to see Delta's newfound detail closer to the ground level, and it's been made less rigid and more accommodating by some new accessibility options. Even little things like being able to use the original UI elements along with the new style camera show it isn't stubborn about letting you tailor things to your liking. Unexpectedly, the most impactful option for me was the color filters. I played the entire game with the legacy filter and found it much better than the somewhat sterile default look. As someone very attached to the specific color palette
Hold on,
and
let me
aesthetic,
take a look at
better
that
than this
again.
option for me was the color filters. I played the entire game with the legacy filter and
Let me see the new one.
found it much better than the somewhat sterile default look.
Go back.
Color filters. I played the entire game with the legacy filter and
The legacy filter just make it look more foggy, which depending on the weather and the atmosphere, the climate at that time of year and that era would be pretty accurate, I would suppose. But
found it much better than the somewhat sterile default.
I don't think this looks sterile though. This doesn't look sterile. This looks like it just higher fidelity. I don't think you can go wrong with either one.
default look. As someone very attached to the specific color palette and aesthetic of the original Snake Eater, this was close enough for me.
If I'm playing a remake, I'm playing it for the graphical enhancements.
Perhaps the thing I enjoyed most about this remake was that I found the old school stealth
if you want the old filter, go play the old game. I don't know, that's just how I see it.
Action to be oddly refreshing. At a time when series like Splinter Cell, Thief, and well, Metal Gear Solid are largely absent in the modern gaming world, playing through Snake Eater tapped into that part of my brain again. Each section feels like a puzzle to be solved, where guards and terrain are your obstacles and your limited gear leaves room for creativity. I was also reminded that reactivity is a defining feature of the Metal Gear series. Whether I'm dropping dirty magazines to distract guards or popping out of a cardboard box for a close quarters takedown, that mix of deliberate decisions and adapting when plans don't exactly work out remains satisfying.
Speak.
The thrill of evading an alert phase while hiding within inches of patrolling guards matches the high of pulling off a perfect no-kill stealth run, and toying with guards once you understand their behavior can be as fun as going in guns blazing.
That's what I be trying to do. I be trying to do the non-lethal run. So I try to do it in Metal Gear Solid 4 too, 2 and 4, and they give you all the tools to do it. It's just you gotta have the skill, because after a while they wake up and you gotta if you have to backtrack, you have to remember where the enemies are and shit like that. Or they'll get up and like, hey, somebody's here. They just knocked me out, and then it'll go automatically. You'll go into caution mode. So you gotta be careful. You gotta really be smooth with it. You gotta just keep moving. You can't sit around if you're gonna do a non-lethal run.
Hold MGS5 the Phantom Pain in high regard for its emergent gameplay, but Snake Eater's more contained scope does make for a throwback that represents what made Metal Gear Solid so damn fun to begin with.
How did he not see that?
Snake Eater's camouflage system works the same here, so you can expect different uniforms and face paint to affect your camo percentage based on the terrain you're in. It was innovative back in 2004 and is still a welcome layer of depth to the tried and true stealth gameplay that we haven't seen often since, especially when it has a genuine impact on what you can get away with in different environments. Delta has a convenient change in that you can access camo presets by holding up on the D-pad, so you don't always have to go into the menus to make a tweak. The injury system is back, and although it's a pain to keep patching Snake up every time you make mistakes, it's on you to be careful and stay stocked with medical supplies. The hunger system remains an interesting wrinkle that's a smart alternative to typical health meters of other games, pushing you to hunt for food or find rations and keep Snake fed to replenish his health over time, and to make sure his tummy doesn't grumble too loud. These kinds of mechanics are common today, but it's interesting to remember that Snake Eater predated a lot of the survival games of today, and it's good to see these mechanics have aged pretty well.
That's damn good.
I appreciate that the controls have mostly been modernized to align with how third-person games typically play today, but the annoying quirks of movement and interacting with your environment haven't really changed. Having Snake stick to cover, make minuscule movements in certain directions, or connect on CQC attacks can be frustrating, even if it's the sort of friction I'm used to putting up with.
Oh, you should just start busting at that point.
And replayability, but when I take a step back, Snake Eater is understandably not quite as expansive as it felt 20 years ago. Relative to modern games, it feels rather small in scope, and its challenges aren't quite as complex as I once thought, and that comes with the territory of a faithful remake. But even if shooting a shotgun into every guard's head is the easiest solution, Metal Gear Solid is at its best when treating it as a playground for improvising. Boss fights are another area where Konami might have played a little too safe by not sprucing them up in some way, so they're a little hit or miss depending on what you're asked to do. There are dull ones like the Pain or the Fear, where you're just waiting for a window to pop your shots. On the other hand, you have classics like the End's cat and mouse shootout and the Sorrow's novel meta layer that remind me that Snake Eater was thinking outside the box and doing things that only Metal Gear was at the time. And if you remember any of the old tricks and secrets from the original versions, just know that they all still work here in Delta.
Go home. Go back to your boss. There's no need to prove that you are virtuous here.
When it comes to the storytelling, it didn't really need changes because it's timeless. I'm a sucker for Kojima and company's embellished political drama, and with the backdrop of a nuclear arms race of the Cold War, inserting their flavor of government conspiracy is captivating to indulge in.
Do you hear me, Snake?
For all its stone-faced goofiness, Snake Eater has a story that hit in a way I didn't expect when I was younger, and after all these years, I felt a new wave of emotions revisiting it as an adult. That's due in large part to the enigmatic relationship between Snake and the boss. It's conveyed with a certain earnestness, leading to revelations that brought things full circle for Snake Eater and Metal Gear Solid as a whole at the time it came out. And it culminates in what I still consider some of the best moments in the entire series. Even twerps like Ocelot earn his respect through a rivalry with Snake that has its own little story arc.
That's major Ocelot to you.
And aside from the boss, Ava remains one of my favorite characters in the series, stealing every scene she's in and playing an important
Ava
role
was wildin'.
as an agent you can't get a read on until the very end.
Bet you've never seen that technique in the West.
For as much flack as Metal Gear may get for its lengthy cinematics, Snake Eater is a focused story told at a fairly brisk pace, and it knows when to pull its far-fetched punches. Weaving in grainy old footage from historical archives alongside Yoji Shinkawa's art direction to ground its story is still effective, and these touches add texture to what's at stake for Snake. Fail and be used as a scapegoat for your government, or succeed and become an unknown hero. Both are tragic in their own ways.
They're just looking for a scapegoat.
With the inexplicable supernatural edge to its villains, Metal Gear Solid is a series best enjoyed with a particular suspension of disbelief. That leaves room for its cinematic flair, seen in iconic moments like climbing the ladder to an a cappella rendition of the Snake Eater theme song.
Yeah, she bodied that. Shout out to Auntie.
And
I
pivotal
forgot the lady name,
conversations
but I
on
just call her
platforms
Auntie.
and
She
conflict
sang that
breaking out at the
motherfucker.
Soviet border. This is a series known for letting you infiltrate top secret military facilities by hiding in conspicuous cardboard boxes. So no one does camp quite like Metal Gear Solid.
This isn't over yet.
Now, for all its adherence to the original, I wondered, did we need this remake? Is there a way Delta could have been a much higher elevation of the original Snake Eater? Yeah, I'm sure, and we have faithful remakes like Resident Evil 4 and Silent Hill 2 to look at as examples, but that's not what Konami set out to do, so I'm left to acknowledge the ways it doesn't quite hold up today, and appreciate the things that make it timeless. It didn't necessarily elevate my love for Snake Eater, but it did remind me of why I've held it in high regard all this time.
Nah, I think that's fine. That's fine. They did just fine. They did just fine. You don't gotta do too much. Even if you're doing a remake, you don't gotta do too much.
While much of what I loved about Snake Eater is attached to the time and place of a boundary-pushing PS2 game in 2004, revisiting it through Metal Gear Solid Delta in 2025 came with a big burst of modernized nostalgia. It's not a particularly expansive or complex game by today's standards, and so parts of it can be underwhelming if you're coming from a more modern Metal Gear. But more often than not, it shows how good stealth action mechanics can age well, and the political drama with Kojima's signature brand of campiness is intact. To me, these are the things that make Metal Gear so memorable. And while some of it is eye-rolling, the emotional highs of Snake Eater's story still hit as hard as I remember. Part of me is still curious about why this was made if it wasn't going to come with more substantial changes. But if I were to point someone to one of the many versions available, this is the one I would recommend, whether you're revisiting or playing for the first time.
The
Kojima
definitive
and the original
edition.
team may not have been involved in this remake, but the spirit of Snake Eater persists.
I have waited long for this day.
We will fight with you once more.
Or if you want to sit there and be a fanatic like me, you can get the Master Collection where you get 1, 2, and 3. And you can get this game as well. That remakes 3. They need to re-release 4 because you can only get 4, I think, on PlayStation 3. So unless you got to play a PS3 or you get it through other means, you can't play 4. I don't even know if it's on Steam. Let's check and see if it's on Steam. I don't think it's on Steam. Because I don't want y'all to be, what are you talking about, bro? It's on Steam. Like, y'all be so quick to try to correct somebody like y'all never said nothing wrong. Like, shit weird. But I understand that that's how the internet works. That's just how the internet works. Y'all are weird. Some of y'all are weird like that. Where you just so quick to correct somebody like you said everything correct in your life. Like, shit is ridiculous. So, Metal Gear Solid 4 not available. So you have to get it by other nefarious means. But let's get to my little clip farm or whatever. Here we go. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. This is the remake of the 3rd game in the iconic Metal Gear Solid series. There were the old 2D games, the Metal Gear games, if you don't know. And this game is looking dope. It's like a faithful retelling. They just wanted to up the graphics. That's all. They left the story the same. They left all the characters the same. All the voice acting the same. I know they did a feature with the voice actors. I don't know if they redid the lines. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But it sounds faithful to the original performances. And I'm just thinking like this is probably how it looked to us back in the day, but now it's actually updated with the original with the modern graphics. You can use the old filters if you want, but I'm gonna play this with the new filters on it. Can't wait to get my hands on this. So yeah, y'all already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's your boy JusticeXFalls, and we out. One.